The Overwatch Spotlight was today, and it announced so many new changes coming to the game in the next week, including 5 new heroes. I wanted to throw together a quick video talking about the design and balance of these heroes and make a prediction on how they're going to play and feel on launch. Hopping right into it, the first hero they announced was Domina, which is their new attempt at a poke tank. A basic outline of the kit was shown. She has a pulse-like pistol that seems really satisfying. She has a very large barrier made of panels that break individually, and a slow, high burst damage projectile that restored some of your shields when it bursts on the enemies. She also has a boop to keep players off of her. The ult is a sort of AoE skill shot that traps enemies hit in a radius in a shield. The shield explodes if it doesn't get broken in a certain amount of time, and does damage based on how much health it had left. I'm going to put the full kit on screen, so pause if you want to read all of it. Now I think that Domina is pretty cool. We haven't had a poke tank since Sigma, and the primary fire looks very satisfying, but I do have some concerns. Being a poke tank, she's going to share the same weaknesses as Sigma. You can really just get ran over, and unlike Sigma, Domina doesn't really seem to have dynamic mitigation. Her shield is completely stationary and on a 14-second cooldown, while Sigma's can be repositioned at will. This is very bad for Domina because as fights progress, you won't be able to reposition and mitigate effectively in the mid-fight. This leaves massive windows of vulnerability in the kit. Of course, this is all just speculation, but I can't imagine that Domina is going to be very good on launch, especially in the iteration she was on the Spotlight. I imagine she'll be very powerful in the neutral, but fall over in the mid-fight. Coach Spilo suggested a smaller shield with 2 charges to enable her to reposition while mitigating, and I can totally see this working. Otherwise, they'd have to tweak her shield regen numbers to where she can sustain herself in a brawl, or else she's just gonna fall over. Moving on, the next hero they announced was Emry. He's a hit scan DPS with a burst rifle that can ADS. His shift allows him to swap to a pistol that fires explosive rounds that grant lifesteal. The pistol has a time limit, as well as a heat meter that automatically cancels the ability if it overheats. While you have your pistol out, you also have increased movement speed and increased jump height. His other ability is a grenade that he gets 2 charges of. It seems to have a light homing, and you can use it to rocket jump. Finally, his ult grants him flight and a rocket launcher that can shoot small rapid shots or slower large bursts. Again, I'll put the full kit on screen. Emry seems like a fine addition to Hitscan. His kit allows for fluid mobility as the ADS doesn't have a movement speed penalty. His kit seems almost Halo or Destiny-like, so I imagine fans of those games might enjoy him. Emry isn't very flashy, and he seems very inoffensive. How good he is really just depends on how well he performs in duels, which is yet to be seen. I do want to add that his ult seems really bad. You don't get any sort of mitigation, and the startup seems long. Doesn't seem like it'd do enough damage to warrant the risk. I imagine the ult will be the first thing they buff. The third hero is named Mizuki. He is the new attempt of a main support. His primary fire shoots a bouncing projectile that does impact damage as well as DOT. His right click throws out a hat that bounces between allies, healing them for less after each bounce. He has 2 charges of this. His shift is a burst of movement that places down a doll. You can reposition and choose to teleport back to the doll within 5 seconds. His E is a skill shot that chains enemies to the ground. Finally, his ult is a circle that stops enemies' projectiles and heals allies inside of it. I don't think it's specifically stated in the reveal, but he also has an AoE heal around him that acts sort of like a Lucio heal. It ramps up in healing as you do damage and use abilities. And here's the full kit. I've already seen some misconceptions about the ult. This is not a Marvel Rivals sustained slop ult. The amount of healing is actually really low, and instead of being a barrier, the circle only acts as a defense matrix, so beams and large projectiles like rock can still pass through it. It only lasts a few seconds. It's not a 15-second invisible woman ult. Mizuki is directly competing with Lucio and Brig, so he needs to be able to control short-range space and clear up angles. It seems like his mobility has this in mind, as you can aggressively push an angle and TP back out if you're losing. His AoE heal in both his aura and his hat is very low, so the kit definitely punishes you from AFKing down main. I'm really excited to see how Mizuki fares in the meta. Competing with Brig and Lucio is definitely no easy task, but I'm very optimistic that players will find Mizuki's niche, even if it takes some time. It's definitely a breath of fresh air to get a skirmishy support after so much time. Anron was the next DPS hero announced. Her primary fire shoots fire projectiles that build up an ignition bar that sets enemies on fire when filled, and her secondary fire fans those flames to do extra damage. Her shift has 2 charges. It's a dash that does contact damage. Her E gives her iframes and does damage to enemies in a circle radius, kind of like Psylocke ult or Mercenary from Risk of Rain. Her ult grants flight and slams down enemies to do huge AoE damage in igniting enemies. And if you think this hero couldn't get any cooler, she has a second ult. She can pop her ult to revive herself, and it does an explosion where she respawns. Here's the full kit. I have a lot to say about this hero because I like her a lot. The main issue is the movement. Anron is meant to be a direct competitor with Tracer and Genji, so like a sort of flanker, skirmishy flex DPS. But unlike Tracer and Genji, her movement is just really slow. It's not like a Genji dash, it's more like a horizontal D.Va boosters, and at the spotlight it seemed very clunky. A hero designed to get scrappy and pressure backlines need to have high burst-like movement to get in and out. The ignition mechanic paired with the fan the flames incentivizes you to get close, but the movement doesn't support that playstyle, which is really disappointing. Thankfully, Anron is available to the public starting tomorrow, so with plenty of feedback, this is likely to get changed, or she's going to stay in some sort of like awkward poke/flanker hybrid, and I don't think that's right for her character. The final character they announced was Jetpack Cat. For some reason, they showcased 2 abilities even though the kit is public. They showed Lifeline, which allows Jetpack Cat to pick up allies and fly them around the map, and the ult, which picks up enemies. Jetpack Cat also has infinite flight, with a boost that works off a resource meter. She also has a burst heal that also boops. She damages and heals through her primary fire. And here's the full kit. I don't have much to say about Jetpack Cat. If this hero is ever meta, it will fundamentally break the game. This hero is Jeff the Land Shark, its Marvel Rivals is not competitive. I'm sure you have or will see the clips of Warren on Mauga being flown around at the skybox. This hero is very gimmicky, and it's a little cheesy, but I'm sure many people will find it fun. That's all I really have to say about the new heroes. I'm really excited for Season 21, and I can't wait to play Anron. I'll probably be making more content on the balance and new content in the future, so subscribe for more.